All right, we're back. Sorry for any inconvenience there. We're having trouble with the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, if it happens again, we're going to move over to somewhere else, see if we can't get a better connection somewhere else. But
hopefully not. Knock on wood.
yeah, so
We
were in the middle of something.
We were in the middle of talking about college football.
We were just about to get into our picks for this.
Yeah, we're talking about the college football playoff rankings, what we thought, and then you're talking about your Twitter.
I was talking about my Twitter. I was tweeting out about
follow
the
him
rankings.
on Twitter at CAMains14.
Yeah, I was talking about the rankings before they came out. I did this like early in the morning when I got up on Sunday. But yeah, I was talking about how I thought Penn State wouldn't get in, and that the only way they would get in if they took out Ohio State, which I think the committee wouldn't do, and they didn't. But also that basically, like, even with the conference championship, the head-to-head wasn't enough, and my own top four before it came out, which is what the top four is, only I had Ohio State and Clemson flip, but I did put that Clemson could jump over Ohio State, which they did.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of like my own little thing, my little predictions of shorts before it came out on Sunday. So just a little factoid, little fun fact, I guess.
Yeah, all right.
But nevertheless, we're getting into this following week, right?
Well, the week coming up.
The week coming
not
up.
the following.
The following week. The following week on the upcoming schedule.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
FCS, we got 4 games. There's only 1 game in the FBS. Again, if you're just joining us, sorry for any inconveniences. We're having trouble with the Wi-Fi there. I'm going to run down through these real quick. For last weekend's review, I know you didn't do this. Biggest upset, I didn't think there was any. The best game I thought was a Big Ten title game between Penn State and Wisconsin. Penn State won 38-31. But then you can also say the ACC title game, since Virginia Tech was coming back late, they ended up losing 42-35 though. Alabama impressed me. They put up 54 on Florida, and then disappointing Colorado. Then they put up 10 points against Washington. I thought they would have put up more of a fight, but their quarterback Sefo Afalufo, he got hurt in the first half. He did come back, but it was a little too late. Okay, FCS now we got 4 games. I went 4-5 last week. What did you say? You went 6-3?
6-3.
So I'm 41-23 on the year. You're 47-17 on the year, something like that. So 4 games. The winners of these games will play next weekend, and then the winner of that game, those 2 games will play each other for the FCS national title game in early January. So Sam Houston State, James Madison.
I'm going to go Sam Houston State.
All right, I'm going to go James Madison. I said they were, a good favorite to win the whole thing when we first made these picks for the playoffs in the FCS. I picked against them last week. They ended up putting up 50 on who'd they play?
New Hampshire.
Yeah, New Hampshire, who put up 50 the week before. And I didn't pick New Hampshire, so I had to pick New Hampshire. Now I got to pick James Madison. So South Dakota State and North Dakota State.
Ooh, North Dakota State.
I also got to take North Dakota State. They're just too damn good. They've won 6 straight FCS national championships. Wofford at Youngstown State.
Give me Youngstown State. Wofford coming off a big upset over the Citadel.
They are. So maybe a little too much on their side. Maybe a little letdown this weekend coming up. I'm always going to take Youngstown State. Richmond at Eastern Washington.
Keep me going on the Richmond train. I picked them last week.
I'm also going to take Richmond. Now that journey to Eastern Washington from Richmond, Virginia is going to be a long haul, but I think the Spiders will get it done. FBS, I went 6-4. You said you went 8-2.
8-2.
Yeah, so I'm 114-79 on the year, and you are
134-60.
Yeah, so you're 19 games up on me. I might catch him with the bowl games. We'll have to see. But there's only 1 game in college this week for the FBS, and that's the Army-Navy game. So go Navy, beat Army.
Give me Navy.
All right. Heisman?
Heisman time?
Is this Saturday? Yeah.
It's Heisman time. Saturday. It will be announced. The finalists were announced on Monday Night Football even. If you're watching that, I guess. But yeah, the 5 guys that made it, 3 quarterbacks, a couple teammates, 1 defensive player. I mean, big range of people.
Teammates are Baker Mayfield and D.D. Westbrook. First
Well,
teammates.
I'm about to get into them.
First teammates since 2004 when Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush represented USC.
They've done that twice. Those two guys.
Back-to-back years as well.
And they won back-to-back years, one and then the other.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, Reggie Bush's Heisman has been vacated from him.
Yeah, so it kind of doesn't really get into the stat book, you could say, since it's technically no more. I mean, technically one.
Technically, yes.
But technically not anymore.
Yes.
But we'll start going through these guys. We'll start with the overall favorite to win the Heisman. He's been the favorite for a really long time now.
The whole season.
Pretty much. Well, not the very, very beginning of the season, but he's made it now. He's made his name for himself now.
Yeah.
From actually playing the games. Because, of course, the favorite going in was like Leonard Fournette. Again.
Yeah.
For the second straight year.
Watson, who is a candidate, or a finalist, I should say. Who else was a favorite at the beginning of the season? Do you remember?
I don't remember exactly. But Lamar Jackson is the favorite now, and that's when it matters. So
yeah,
the quarterback out of Louisville had 3,390 yards, 30 touchdowns to 9 interceptions on 58.6% completion percentage, and an 86.7 QBR. Now on the ground, which is probably the biggest reason why he's in this situation at being a favorite for the Heisman, is that he ran for 1,538 yards and had 21 touchdowns running the ball. So that's a total of 51 touchdowns on the year, which is a ridiculous number by anyone's standards, you could say. Definitely the favorite. For me, personally, I think that the way that his team and even him played in the last couple games of the season should hurt him in this voting, but I don't think it will in the end. I mean, we're going to make our own picks of who's going to win this thing at the very end, but as we go through it. But I think his team's poor finish should factor into this and could hurt him in the end, but
it could.
Doubtful.
Lost 2 of their last 3.
Got shut down for the most part against Houston. I mean, they only put up 10 points, and he's basically their offense, the Louisville Cardinals. So they only put up 10 against Houston, and then, I mean, for the longest time against Wake Forest, if we want to go even back further, they were down going into like the fourth quarter, but then they put up like 35 in the fourth.
Yeah.
Didn't give up a single point. But then they lost to Kentucky at home. He had 4 turnovers in that game.
Yeah.
So not a good game from him. Even one, I think, late in the game in the red zone. So definitely not good. So I think that should hurt him, but I don't know. What do you think about Jackson?
Like I said, well, like you said, I should say, he's been the favorite all season. You know, after the first 2 games, I should say, because he was putting up 7-8 touchdowns by himself. Like you said, he's Louisville's offense. I just looked up some archives there. Christian McCaffrey was also a favorite to win the Heisman at the beginning of the season.
Of course.
And then he ended up not playing in a couple games. Stanford ended up finishing 9-3. Good for them, but you know, he's not a finalist now. But Jackson's pretty much been the favorite the whole season, and he's done too much too soon, and that's why I think he's going to have the edge over everybody else, even though they lost 2 of their last 3 to Houston and then Kentucky in back-to-back weeks. So I think he did a little too much too soon, and he put up 30 touchdowns through the air and 20 through the 20 on the at least 20 on the ground. So if you look back at former Heisman Trophy winners, Jameis Winston, Johnny Manziel, Cam Newton, RG3, Marcus Mariota, they all accomplished that as well with 30 touchdowns through the air and 20 on the ground throughout the whole season, and they won the Heisman Trophy. So go back a couple years on history, it's going to be a little hard for voters to vote against Lamar Jackson, in my opinion.
Yeah, and a good rushing quarterback always seems to grab the attention of the Heisman voters for the most part.
Yeah.
Mostly all the quarterbacks that are winning Heismans, especially lately, have been mostly runners, dual threat, although mostly
starting
runners.
with Cam Newton.
Essentially, yeah. Passing has kind of taken a back seat a little bit to in the quarterback play, at least in college football, because that's just the way the game's going now. Yep. More dual threat quarterbacks. It seems like every quarterback nowadays is a dual threat quarterback. So
as much as I don't like that, it's just how it is. I like more of a pocket passer who can sling it at least 50 yards down the field, right on the money to whoever the wide receiver may be, rather than running RPO and stuff like that, because you got to have a good run game though too to open up that quarterback who can throw the ball downfield.
Yeah.
You look at the Ravens in the NFL and Joe Flacco. They've gotten away from their run game, but they're still in the hunt right now. Flacco's playing his best football. He always does come late in the year. Just to throw that in there to use an example. So,
All right. So
move on.
Move on?
Yeah, the other
all right.
other finalists, or you want to move on to the NFL?
Yeah, we'll move on to the other finalists.
All
We're
right.
not quite done yet with everything else. We're not crowning Jackson just yet. Okay, we gotta.
Well, I pretty much did. So.
Yeah, but we gotta make some case for some other guys too, though.
You can, yeah.
We can. You can even make a case for some if you want. Deshaun Watson's the next guy's name I have written down. That's just the order I written him down in. But QB from Clemson, threw for 3,914 yards, 37 touchdowns, 15 INTs on 67.6 completion percentage and an 82.1 QBR. He also had 529 and 6 touchdowns on the ground. So he's a guy that a little bit more of a. He's not a really big dual threat like Jackson, but
No.
he has the passing numbers to back him up.
Yeah.
Though. The biggest thing I have with him, stats wise, is mostly the TD to INT ratio. It's not the best. Everything else is pretty good though, and he's playing for a really good team who's in the college football playoff. That always helps, I think, because the last the last person to win the Heisman that wasn't ranked in the AP top poll was Bo Jackson back in '85.
Yeah, that's a long time.
That's a really long time ago. There was only 20 teams in the poll back in '85.
That's 30 years.
There was only 20 teams back then.
Yeah.
And it went to 25 in '89. So, but other than that, the lowest ranked one that I found was Ty Detmer, I think it was.
From BYU.
22nd overall for BYU.
Well, Ty Detmer's Ty Detmer.
Yeah. So, he was the lowest ranked one. And, that's what Heisman is basically becoming. The Heisman is just basically just the best player for the best team is mostly what happens. It's not necessarily the best player overall, possibly.
Yeah, and it should be the best player.
Yeah.
Not the best player and the best team. It should be the best player, whether you play on a 3-9 team or a 12-0 team.
It's the same with all MVPs around professional sports, even the NBA,
That's
the
true.
NFL.
That's true.
These guys don't necessarily might not have the stats, but they play for the best team and they're the best player on the best team, and that has to mean something, right?
Yeah.
So, if we're talking about guys that maybe should deserve to be here, and they aren't here just because of who they play for, Deonta Foreman for Texas,
Yeah.
best running back this season, over 2,000 yards, 15 touchdowns. Wasn't held under 100 yards in any game this season that he played in. He played in 11. He only played in 11. He missed a game against UTEP early in the season, but he's had over 100 yards in every single game that he's played in rushing. So he's a guy that deserves to be here, I think. It's just the fact that he played for a 5-7 Texas that he's not here.
Yeah.
And also stats. Obviously,
he'll be playing the NFL next year. He announced he's going to the NFL. Same thing with McCaffrey and someone else. I know Baker Mayfield's coming back though.
Yeah, Baker's coming back, and he's the next guy on the list. But obviously, stats aren't the biggest thing, or else we'd have Patrick Mahomes from Texas Tech here because he threw for 5,000 yards. He's led the entire college football in yards, throwing, and hell, even plays, because he's the guy that's literally the entire offense for his team.
Well, Texas Tech always puts up.
They're an offensive team. They're the worst offense.
Do you look at the teams that they play though in the Big 12? The Big 12, they don't play defense. It's been like this for the past
Texas Tech
past couple years. So
in Texas Tech,
that's why he's been able to do this.
Yeah, they're 120th in defense.
Yeah,
Texas Tech is, but either way, Big 12, Baker Mayfield now, third guy on my list.
Former Texas Tech player. He transferred from Texas Tech to Oklahoma.
Yeah, Oklahoma quarterback, threw for 3,669 yards, 38 touchdowns to just 8 INTs on 71.8 completion and 91.6 QBR. Now, keep in mind, QBR is 0 to 100, so 91.6, he's damn near perfect in the QBR category. He also had 6 rushing TDs, give him 44 in total, so, he's still quite a ways behind Jackson, but very comparable. Both even Watson has 43 combined.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, I'm big on a Big 12 guy. Obviously, I got to be high on my own man. But
Understandable.
also, I mean, good team. Won the last 9 games after starting 1-2 on the season. Very good coming down the stretch, and I think that should be going back to Jackson. I think how you played down the stretch should be kind of an indication of whether you're good or not, because those are the biggest games usually.
Yeah, Oklahoma started out slow, so Mayfield was playing slow, but then he picked it up. So, vice versa from Jackson, as you're saying, they stunk it up in the end rather than stunk it up at the beginning of the season. So,
and he's played great through down the stretch as well. And I forgot to mention it with Watson. He's probably been the best player from November on about, if not the best.
Yeah.
And this whole thing's going to come down to whether Jackson's numbers early on is going to hold up against the guy. More than likely, it's going to be Watson who's going to finish second in this race. They won't. Baker Mayfield probably won't get too much love. Just like these next two guys probably won't get much love from voters either. And a big reason is because of where they play. Everyone pretty much knows that the Heisman is basically a quarterback or running back race. More often than not, lately, a quarterback race. And quarterback...
The past 5 years, except for last year when Derrick Henry won, from 2010 to 2014.
2009, I guess. Ingram won in 8.
Ingram won in 9.
He won in 9?
Yeah, so the past 5 of the last 6 years, a quarterback has won.
Yeah, and there's always one that's possibly going to win. And I mean, it's because of the quarterback position. They have the ball in their hands every single play, and that's a big reason why. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, like wide receivers, I guess someone's got to throw them the ball. It's the quarterback.
Yep.
And running backs are the ones that can break through because they have less. The quarterbacks don't really influence them too much. It's more of the offensive line they're dependent on and how good of a rusher they are. I mean, but. Wide receiver, speaking of him, D.D. Westbrook out of Oklahoma, the teammate of Baker Mayfield, is also made it into the top 5, well, technically the top 5, and he will be there. And
first time they've had 5 finalists in a couple years. In the past 2 to 3 years, they've had about either 3.
Yeah, it's been 3.
3. And speaking of last year, Watson finished 3rd and Mayfield finished 4th too.
Yeah, so these guys are coming back, and guys that have come back haven't fared great most of the time. Like Andrew Luck is probably the biggest example in recent memory.
The only person that would have done good coming back would have been Archie Griffin. He won in back-to-back years.
I'm talking about guys
that lost their first time coming and then they come back and lose again.
Yeah, I'm talking about guys like that have been in the top, near the top, and then came back and lost. Andrew Luck's the biggest example because he was set to win both years that he lost pretty much. But RG3 is the most notable one coming out of nowhere.
But I mean, look what's happened in the NFL. Luck's had a better career so far than RG3.
And that's the other
thing. Luck
thing.
is still on the same team that he was drafted by.
Yeah,
RG3 is
that's the other thing. A lot of these guys that have done that have not won the Heisman where they could have. They've had great careers.
Yeah,
I mean, Heisman doesn't mean that necessarily you're going to be a good NFL player. And I think that can at times I think kind of hurt them in a way. Well, it kind of hurts teams that draft these guys in a way because they see the Heisman, they probably think that they're a really good player.
Yeah.
But it's all about what you can do in the NFL because college, the difference between college and NFL is great, just in the way they play the game. Even
the game's so much different,
and you have to be able to adapt.
The field's a little bit bigger. It seems like, from college, from the NFL to college, especially with the hash marks, you're playing. It's wider than what college is. So players got to get used to that. That's why a lot of coaches don't want to play rookies in the NFL unless they're, good. You look at a perfect example this year with Dak Prescott thrown into a situation in Dallas with Tony Romo getting injured, and then Ezekiel Elliott, and then, presumably was going in as the number 1 running back. He was drafted 4th overall. And they didn't have anybody other than Alfred Morris. They did have Darren McFadden, but
he got hurt.
He's been hurt all year. So you look at that, as a perfect example with how because Zeke was good at Ohio State.
Yeah,
Dak was all right at Mississippi State.
Yeah,
he wasn't a Deshaun Watson. or Lamar Jackson.
No.
So it just shows you the game is a lot different.
Yeah, and if you're an NFL team, I think you want to draft a guy that's maybe in more of an NFL-like system that, well, is also adaptable as well to boot, because you got to be able to adapt. I mean, these guys like Mayfield and Watson and Jackson, and if they go, and they likely will be drafted in the NFL, they're going to have to be able to adapt. They have to be able to rely a little bit less on their legs, Jackson especially.
Yeah.
You got to be able to throw the ball in the NFL, no doubt about it.
And I'm going to be a little biased right here, but favorite player of mine, everybody knows Christian Hackenberg. His freshman year at Penn State, Bill Brown as head coach. You're talking about players in an NFL system to be ready to go play in the NFL. He was in that type of system, and then O'Brien obviously left. People were saying, this kid was going to win the Heisman, and maybe after his sophomore junior year, but O'Brien wasn't there. Franklin comes in, runs a different system, runs a college system, with the RPOs, the dual threat quarterbacks. So he could have won the Heisman, but he's playing for the Jets now. He hasn't had his chance. Do not throw him in this situation now. The Jets are 3-9. They're out of playoff contention. Let Petty play. See if he's worth, possibly starting next year, because him and Hackenberg are the only two quarterbacks under contract for the Jets for next season. They're not going to re-sign Ryan Fitzpatrick. They just wasted $14 million back in July. And then, Geno Smith, he's a piece of trash in my opinion. He always gets hurt, and he sucks. So, why re-sign a guy that it's gonna cost you some money, and then it goes back to Fitzpatrick too. His career's over, I think. He's been on 6 different teams in his 12-year career. That's 2 years per team averaged.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he has anything left in the tank, but give Hackenberg a shot, will you? The Jets, but don't do it now.
All right.
But and this goes back to college players in an NFL system in college, because that's what Hackenberg was in his freshman year. But then O'Brien leaves, and Hackenberg could have been the number 1 choice in the draft this past year. I've said that before to the Rams, but who knows? Yeah. So
and just kind of end this discussion, I guess, possibly. You wanted a perfect example of college and the NFL being totally different. Just look at Chip Kelly.
Oh yeah, for coaching, for sure.
Because he tried to implement his
system. Now he's not going to go back to Oregon. Oregon just hired a new head coach today.
Yeah.
He
tried to implement a more college system. It worked that first year.
Yeah.
The year after, no. I think that's something that happens. Of course, like it was a newer system. Teams haven't really seen it. Then they adapted to it the next year, and it didn't work anymore. Just like RG3, we can say they weren't really used to him when he came out. His rookie year was great.
Yeah.
I mean, he got hurt, of course, tail end of it in the playoff game against Seattle, and then came back maybe a little early, possibly.
Nothing.
But was awful afterwards, because teams were adapted to him now. They knew how to play against him. So rookies are...
Washington needs to pay Kirk Cousins too.
Huh?
Washington needs to pay Kirk Cousins too.
It would, yes. They definitely do now. He's proven himself now. He was proving last year. He's now kind of they gave him the franchise, did they not?
Yeah, so it's rather sign a long-term deal last year, and then rather than franchise tag him, but they franchise tagged him, so they're going to spend a little bit more money. I think we talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Did we?
I think we did.
I don't know.
But we might have. I'm pretty sure we did. Anyways, back to Heisman. Back to Heisman, yeah.
Back to Heisman. I was on D.D. Westbrook, I think I was. The wide receiver from Oklahoma. 74 catches, 1,465 yards, and 16 touchdowns. Pretty good stats. But, of course, he had his teammate Baker Mayfield throwing those balls.
Yeah.
He's a guy that kind of emerged out of nowhere as a possible Heisman candidate. I think later on in the season. Not too many people know about D.D. Westbrook. He's just kind of coming out of nowhere. He was hurt in that game against Oklahoma State on Saturday. He had 111 yards with a 69-yard touchdown in there. Amongst that, he could have boosted his stats possibly in that game, maybe a little bit made a little bit better of a case, despite if he had a little more time. But he's already at an upward slope winning this thing, because there hasn't been a guy that won the Heisman as a wideout since '97, and technically this guy wasn't even a wideout. It was Charles Woodson. He's a defensive back / a wideout. But then if you want to go back, the last one to actually win it, that was an actual wide receiver, Desmond Howard.
2 Michigan men.
2 Michigan guys. That was '91.
Yeah.
So a really, really long time ago.
Everybody knows.
25 years.
Everybody knows his Heisman pose.
Yeah. So it's been 25 years since a wideout's won.
Yeah.
And heck, our next guy is at the same disadvantage because he's a defensive player.
And he also plays for Michigan.
So yeah, '97, last time a defensive player won in Charles Woodson. Jabril Peppers.
But Peppers, he does play on the offensive side of the ball, though, too.
Yes. Definitely doesn't have the best stats of any of these guys, I don't think.
No, because he's more of a defensive player, but...
Not even his defensive stats aren't exactly flashing to me. They don't stand out 100%. But yeah, he's mostly a linebacker. 66 total tackles, 13 of them for loss, 3 sacks of those. He also has a pick. But 3 rushing touchdowns, as you mentioned. Plays both sides of the ball, runs the ball some. And also has a punt return touchdown.
Yeah.
So he's more of an exciting player, I would say, that's made it in here.
Yeah. He's fun to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's a guy that's... Who knows?
I saw him play last year.
The eye test doesn't show much, I don't think, for Peppers. I think it's something that you need to see him play and watch him like on film or something to really appreciate and to see how good a player this guy is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the eye test maybe not, but I mean, I personally haven't. I'm personally going off an eye test more so because, as you know, I don't watch college football as extensively as you do.
Yeah, I'm the guy that sits in front of the TV all day.
So you already said Jackson's going to win. I mean,
he's the favorite.
He's the
obviously.
favorite.
He's the favorite. You can have a strong case for both Watson and Mayfield coming back 2 years in a row. Especially with the stats they've put up this year. But I'm going to take Lamar Jackson. Like I said, I think he did too much too soon in the season, and the other guys didn't have enough time to catch up to him with how good they could have played. And the stats that they could have put up. So the order I think it's going to finish at is Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Jabril Peppers, Baker Mayfield, and then D.D. Westbrook.
All right.
I think Peppers is going to get those votes just for how good he is, what the type of player he is.
I won't get into any rankings or anything. I'll just say I had Mayfield down. It's more of a personal pick, but I think Watson should win. I think he's been just as consistent throughout the entire year, though. And he's been playing better down the stretch. He plays for a better team as well, so that helps.
That's why I said you could probably make a strong case for him.
He's probably the one that you can make the strongest case for to dethrone Jackson as the Heisman Trophy winner, because, I mean...
Projected.
For a while now, he's basically been the Heisman Trophy winner, but the last couple of games may have hurt that a lot, I think, and it should. But
we really haven't had a Heisman ceremony in which we didn't know who the winner was going to be in recent memory. Within the past 5 years, at least, because with the quarterbacks winning 5 of the last 6, and then last year Derrick Henry,
Well, I don't know if Derrick Henry was a surefire thing. I think a lot of people thought McCaffrey was going to win that one last year.
I picked McCaffrey to win last year.
Yeah.
I picked McCaffrey to win last year, but as you said, who did Derrick Henry play for?
Alabama.
And
National
wasn't
champions,
Alabama one of the best teams last year?
The best team, actually,
so,
in the end.
Yeah, so it just shows you, going back to what we said, the best player needs to win, not the best player on the best team.
Yeah, I think it's a little screwed up.
So,
I mean, just look at the guys that are in the MVP race right now for the NFL. All guys on winning teams.
Yeah.
They're even putting Prescott in the MVP category.
And he's a rookie, for God's sakes. A rookie.
Yeah, just because he plays for the Cowboys. He doesn't have the best numbers in the world. Even Derek Carr, I'll make this case for that he doesn't necessarily have maybe the best numbers. He has good numbers, maybe not the best, but he plays for the Raiders, who are, 10-2 now?
10-2. The leader in the AFC West.
So it's basically you got to play for the best team. It doesn't necessarily mean you're the best player.
Yeah.
And hey, it's more of a popularity contest in the end, I guess.
It's true.
But I was going to mention about the NBA, but that's not what we're talking about.
No.
So we won't get
And
into
the
any of that.
NBA just started too.
Yeah.
So there's really...
Well, I'm just talking about just the MVP in general for the NBA.
Well, I know.
Because the
I know what you're saying.
NBA is morally whoever's the best offensive player. They don't look at defensive because they have a defensive player of the year award already.
They do, but really with the NBA, they don't play defense anyway.
Well, that's
Most
problem.
of the time. Yeah.
The guys that do play defense don't get recognized.
Yeah.
So, and they should. I mean, they get their own award, but I think it should be because you got to play both sides of the ball, right?
You can, yeah.
Like
Defense wins championships.
And of course, my favorite thing, I think it's the one thing you need to do when you're doing something like that MVP is, what is this team without this person? And if I want to talk about Dak Prescott, I think they're just the same without him for the most part. If it's Tony Romo, I think they're doing just as well, maybe a little bit less because Romo does some stupid crap.
Because they're running the football good. Well,
Yeah.
That's why.
Because they look exactly almost the same as 2 years ago when they made the playoffs, won a playoff game.
Would Louisville be the same without Lamar Jackson?
Well, hell no. So he passes that test,
Yeah.
no doubt about it, because he is Louisville, basically.
Mm-hmm.
He is their offense. You look at the stats for Louisville's team, it's like he leads them in rushing yards, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
He leads them in like every major category offensively. Like no one's even close to him.
It's true.
He's ran the most times. He has the most yards. He runs more than their actual running back.
It's true.
Crying out loud. And that's just how college is, though.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. So, nevertheless,
Heisman Trophy ceremony.
Saturday evening.
Saturday night, 8 o'clock on ESPN. Be sure to tune in. It's only on for an hour, so.
Yeah, it's not too
and
long.
then they're going to have a 30 for 30 on after. The Catholics versus the Convicts. Notre Dame, Miami. Should be a good 30 for 30.
Sounds like it. All right, on to the NFL now. This past week, week 13. Let's get into it, I guess. Upset,
Yeah.
nothing really special happened in this week.
Agreed.
There were some stretches, maybe. I didn't put any of them down, but there's a lot of stretches that could have been upsets technically, but they weren't. In the end, some might call it that, but I'm sure they're not going to call it.
Yeah, I didn't think there's any upsets, Corey.
Yeah, best game. Second straight week, the Chiefs make this list. Chiefs over the Falcons. That pick 2 by Eric Berry sealing the win.
Yeah, I had that, and then I also had the Thursday night game. The Cowboys with the
That was
Vikings.
also a
The
good one.
Vikings came back late and almost won that game.
So yeah, those two are definitely good. Second game this season that the 2-point conversion has doomed a team.
The first one was in the preseason.
No, the Saints just a couple weeks ago.
Well, that was on that wasn't on an interception. That was on a.
I'm saying the extra point. I guess the new rule of how the defense can score 2.
Yes, that was on a blocked field.
I guess that's how I should have said it then.
Yeah.
The 2-point conversion.
It's happened 3 times this year. One in the preseason and then twice in the regular season, but twice with the interception and once with the kick.
But yeah, and that's been the difference in those games.
And this
too.
rule's only been in effect for a couple years. Yeah, it's like 3 years.
I thought that was it is really recent. I didn't
Yeah.
know the exact time frame, but either way, impressed this week. I had the Baltimore Ravens putting up 496 total yards against the Dolphins. Impressive for a team that defense has really been their mainstay this season. It's been their defense.
That's why they're 7-5.
7-5.
Yeah.
Their defense ranks in the top. They're the top defense overall in the NFL. The Ravens are, so kind of impressive that their offense won that game for them. And then of course their defense shut down the Dolphins as well. They won that game 38-6. It was.
Yep.
So
They had a late touchdown, but the Lions impressed for me. They beat your Saints when I thought they wouldn't have. That's why I went 8-1 last week. That was the only game I lost. But the Lions have won their last 8 of 9. Who would have thought the Detroit Lions would have won 8 of their last 9, especially losing Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
Their number 1 receiver, but Matthew Stafford in that MVP race as well.
Yeah, and it's because he's able to spread out the ball a little bit more, I guess you could say. I talk about egos, and sometimes you have to feed the ego of the star player, so who knows. But, I mean, the Lions is a good pick for that, I think. And now they're sitting pretty on the top of the NFC North at the moment.
Yeah, they are, but as I said last week, those Packers, they're coming back up. They're 6-6 right now.
They're on their big test this weekend.
They're coming back up to the top, as the Jeffersons would say. And who knows? these two teams still got to play each other one more time.
Yeah.
And the Packers already beat the Lions. So if they win again, they'll have the head-to-head. Now, if the Lions have a better record in the North, they're still going to win. They're still going to win the division, but the Packers could then get in the playoffs by a wild card, and then we could see a third matchup between these two teams possibly in the playoffs in the wild card round. But we'll have to see about that.
All right. Disappointed I had no one.
I had the Jets.
I mean, yeah.
They played awful on Monday night. That was awful.
They are awful, so I guess
but
it's not really anything new.
But they could have put up more of a fight.
I guess.
That's why they just.
It did look embarrassing at one
yes.
point. When Dwayne Allen has 2 touchdowns where they literally walks into the end zone.
Well, he ended up having 3.
Yeah, he did. But I'm saying the first 2 where he just literally walks in.
Whoever had him in fantasy football, congratulations. He won. He won for your team this past week.
Yeah, you had a good amount of yards too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they weren't like 1-yard touchdowns. They were 20 yards out.
It was wide open.
Yeah.
All except for the one.
Yeah.
But he was wide open on a couple of those. So this week, week 14, bye weeks are finished now.
Yep.
The Titans and the Browns were the last 2 to have a bye week. So yeah, we see the Browns this week at some point.
Yay!
I'm not going to pick them.
They played the Bengals in a rematch.
Yeah, they played the Bengals
a couple weeks ago. That game should be good. I think. As bad as the Browns are, they won a game
RG3 could play
all year. RG3 could play. Thank you for joining there, Kerry. But this matchup of these two teams was always a good game.
The Bengals haven't been that great this season.
No, and they haven't, so that's why it makes it a little bit more interesting. A matchup of 2 sucky teams, but we're not going to pick that because
they're not. Bengals aren't sucky in Browns territory of suck.
Well, they could be there if they, could have made a mistake here and there in a game,
or
2. So
I mean, any team could be like that.
True.
But as for picks, I went 5-4 this week. You already mentioned you went 8-1.
Yep. Best week of the year.
Best week of your year, for sure. In any of them, really, for the most part.
Well, college, I had a couple good weeks. But then, at the same time, you either did the same or the following week, I didn't pick as good, and you picked what you did the week before. So you get up on me. But 8-1, best week for me in the NFL this year.
What would that bring you to then?
And I'm 62-48-2.
All right, I'm 61-49-2.
So I'm 1 game up on them.
You finally, this is the first lead you've had in any of these picks for the most, I think.
Well,
maybe early on.
Early on, halfway through the year, I was up on you there, but then
I've been up on you for the most part lately.
Some of the games though, they came down to the wire. They were close. Team ended up losing by a touchdown or a field goal late, and like I said, a win's a win. So you obviously get that win, and then I ended up getting the loss. But that is what it is. But yeah, 8-1 last week.
Yeah, this week in the NFL, I gotta say these are probably
a lot of good games.
I gotta say probably the best primetime lineup: Thursday, Sunday night, and Monday night. One of the best.
Probably all year
for this, because Thursday night is the Raiders taking on the Chiefs at Arrowhead, battling for that AFC West title right now. And
now, if the Chiefs do win, they'll still be a game behind because the Raiders are 2 games up on them. But they'll be tied though for the season games because they already played each other in the Raiders.
I'm pretty sure won. I thought the Chiefs won.
I thought the Raiders won.
I'm pretty sure the Chiefs won the earlier match.
Well, anyways, these 2 teams play Thursday night.
Yes, and I'm taking the Chiefs in a slight one just because, well, the Raiders have looked a little bad at times here the last couple weeks. They were up big against Carolina, let them come back, and they were down to Buffalo early last week, too.
Both games at home.
And now they have to travel to the tough Arrowhead Stadium.
Now they're going on the road,
It's going to be tough, and I think the Chiefs are going to pull this one out in the end.
Just win, baby. I'm going to take the Raiders.
All right, you're going to stick on the Raiders?
I think they'll go to 11-2. I think they'll start strong, and their defense will allow them to win the game late rather than having them come back and win, as what the past 2 weeks have done, as you said.
All right, we'll kick off our Sunday slate with another big divisional matchup for divisional crown.
And this game went to overtime a couple weeks ago when they played.
Yeah, and another
on
game
Sunday night
with huge divisional implications,
especially with the one team losing 3 in a row now.
I guess it would be. Yeah, Texans Colts in Indy. Um, the Texans won the first one, correct?
Yes, the Texans won the first one.
So yeah, I'm taking the Colts. This is always a good game between these two teams. It seems like
It is.
but I'm going to take the Colts at home, coming off of a very large win against the Jets on Monday night. But this is normally like a split series most of the time, and I think it's going to
That's
be that
the
way.
word I was looking for a little bit ago with the Raiders and the Chiefs.
But I'm going to go Colts.
I'm going to go Texans.
All right. Texans.
The Colts, as you said, they're coming off that big win against the Jets. With how bad the Jets are, they still put up a lot of points and a lot of numbers. But I think that's a little too much for them. I think Houston is obviously going to play a lot better on defense. They already beat them once this year. They know how to, they already know how to beat them. So I think they'll beat them again. I think Houston beats Indy.
All right. Next game features two teams, one of which is in that race.
Going back to that game, I want to be surprised that Houston-Indy game goes to overtime.
All right. The one team in this game is in that fight for the AFC South with the Texans and Colts, and the other team is fighting for the wild card essentially, and still the AFC West technically.
Yeah.
As the Broncos take on the Titans. The Broncos are battling the AFC West and mostly the wild card for the most part. But I'm going to take the Broncos to they're going to get a game on one of those two teams, the Raiders or Chiefs, after Thursday.
If they win.
But I'm going to take the Broncos in a slight one. I wouldn't be surprised if the Titans win, though. The Titans are a good team.
Yeah. I'm going to take the Titans in an upset. I think a lot of people would call this an upset this week just because how the Broncos are playing. Especially with the AFC West, probably the best division in the NFL this year.
Easily. But the Chargers are still good.
Yeah, they're 5-7. They could possibly still win that division. Because Oakland has 10 wins.
No, they can't.
So they'd have to win out, finish 9-7. They could still make a wild card if other teams lose from like the AFC North or the South.
The East.
No, the East.
The Dolphins are still in it. Still.
Nah, they're not going to make the playoffs. Neither are the Bills.
I'm just saying the Dolphins are still there.
They're still in it, but they're not. They're not going to make it. But I'm going to take the Titans in an upset going back to this game.
Okay. And a theme for this week, it seems like the big divisional games, NFC East matchup.
Yeah.
As the Redskins go to Philadelphia, take on the Eagles.
Potentially, Deshaun Jackson's new home. He could be going back to Philly.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm going to take the Redskins in this one. The Eagles' big loss last week to the Bengals on the road.
Yeah.
The Redskins have a really high-powered offense. They had a close loss themselves against the Cardinals this past week as well. But I think they have a really high-powered offense, and I think that will be mainly the difference in that game. I think they'll put up a lot of points against the Eagles.
I'm going to take the Redskins as well. As you said, they came off a tough loss last week. I picked against them. You didn't. But I think they get the win this week.
All right.
Against Philly.
Cardinals taking on the Dolphins. Cardinals need the win to get back into the hunt. And technically they are in the hunt now, but
they could still win the NFC West.
Yes, they could.
Because the Rams and the 49ers are out.
Yeah.
In my opinion. All they have to compete with are the Seahawks, who they tied with. So
they still have to play them again. Yeah. So if they win that, then they got the season series. So it'd be big for them.
I believe that game's on New Year's.
The Seahawks one.
The Seahawks Cardinals. I believe that's on New Year's.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I have to check the schedule.
The last game of the season, I believe so.
But I got the Cardinals in this one to keep it going, beating the Dolphins.
I'm also going to take the Cardinals. I think the Dolphins are out of it. I think their losing streak is going to continue within the next couple weeks. With a bad loss last week at Baltimore, I don't think they have anything left in the tank. I know we still got a couple weeks left, but no, it's the Miami Dolphins for God's sakes. They're always like this if they get in late. When was the last time they made the playoffs? Exactly.
I think Chad Pennington was on the team.
Exactly. And Chad Pennington wasn't even good for the Dolphins.
It was either Pennington or Henny.
It had been Pennington.
All right. I know they got blown out in their playoff game. I think it was the last time, if I remember correctly. But Seahawks Packers is the America's game of the week. Will be on Fox in Lambeau. I gotta go Packers. Seahawks. I mean, they're great at home. I don't necessarily like them on the road as much. And we saw what they did against freaking Tampa Bay just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
put up 5.
These two teams played each other last year.
They played each other like the last 3 years. At some point.
Well, they played this. Seattle went to Green Bay last year, and they played on Sunday night. But as you said, the Packers are playing on at home at Lambeau, Green Bay.
Yeah, they're a team,
and they're coming up the rear right now.
Yeah, they're getting back into it after a big losing streak there partway through the season. The other 4:25. Wait, I forget. Is the Dolphins a 4 o'clock game or not?
Yes.
I know it's not really important.
I'm pretty sure it is. I know this next game is though.
Yeah, this is a 4:25er. It's Saints going to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. Buccaneers are on a 4-game win streak. I think it's a 4-game. It might be a 4-game if they win. 4-game win streak.
Yeah, they're 7-5.
Tied for the division lead with the Falcons. They need this win. They got the Saints coming to town. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. I think they're going to torch the Saints defense.
I'm also going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I think Winston and Evans have a big day.
The Saints, they've disappointed me the past couple weeks whenever I pick them.
They seem to, and this will hurt them a lot, they seem to not be able to play the top wideouts very well for the other team. And Mike Evans is one of the top in the NFL this year. Yeah. Not just for his team.
Excuse me, but I think Tampa wins. I think they win the South and then go to the playoffs.
I mean, they're trending that way right now for sure.
And I don't think Atlanta makes the playoffs.
Yeah, it's tough to say with that NFC wildcard. It could get crazy here down the stretch.
That's 2 years in a row that Falcons start out strong and they don't make the playoffs.
I mean, they've had to play good teams like the Chiefs and the Cardinals and stuff. But, yeah, similar to last year, I would say. Yeah. Sunday Night Football is the Cowboys going to East Rutherford to take on the New York Giants. Yep. Another rivalry game. The only team to beat the Cowboys this season are the New York Giants. But give me the Cowboys in this one. Keep it going. They only lost because not only because Terrence Williams walked out of bounds. That's true. Wouldn't get out of bounds. Yeah. But it was a big reason they didn't get a chance to win that game. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to go Cowboys again. They're just playing too damn good. Yeah, I'm also going to take the Cowboys. I would like to take the Giants, but how the Giants played last week at Pittsburgh disappointed me. I don't know how they're going to compete with Dallas, but this game will be close. This game will be really good. Yeah, it might come down to Dan Bailey or Robbie Gould, possibly. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants do show up and play a really good game and even win this game, because big rivalry games are always like that. Teams show up even though if they're bad or not sometimes. Yeah. Monday night, then, is the Ravens taking on the Patriots, and I'm going to make this as simple as possible. I mean, it's in Foxborough. That's pretty much all I need, I think. At night.
It's probably going to be snowing.
Brady, they don't lose at home. They're another team that don't really lose at home.
No.
The Patriots are. It should be a good game, though. The Ravens' defense will probably help them a lot in that game. No Gronk, of course, for the Patriots. They don't have that great weapon.
Might be done
but
with the Patriots in his career, too.
Yeah. The Patriots think are just too much for the Ravens in the end. And you're saying that as well?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Patriots.
Going Patriots. Yeah. And if I'm seeing this right, that's all we got.
You got a question of the week, though,
I do have a question of the week. It goes back a ways, though, but...
to the college football playoff.
The college football playoff, yes.
We're sorry about last week, too. We forgot to mention it. About our question of the week. We try to announce it.
I don't remember what it was.
We just totally forget. We just totally forgot.
I don't think it was written down anywhere either.
No, we didn't. That's our own fault, like I said.
Yeah, that's our own fault. But question of the week this week is: should the college football playoff expand? And I mean, you kind of sounded off on this earlier that you're maybe not so much for it.
No, I mean, I want to be mad though if they do. But as I said, if they do expand it to like 8 teams, you're going to have teams 9 and 10, 11 and 12 arguing that they should have been in it. You know, now they could have 2, 3, maybe 4 losses at that point, but
unless you can make it simple, a little more simpler, maybe just conference champions get in first of all, and then like maybe a Power of 5 or whatever they're called,
non-power 5 team.
Yeah, non-Power 5 or not the Power 5. What the hell am I thinking? But the non-Power 5.
You're thinking the right thing.
But yeah, like one of those schools and some wild cards possibly. So
yeah,
but I think it would help it would get a lot more diversity in it, and make for more exciting matchups. Seeing teams that maybe you wouldn't have seen normally, like a Western Michigan for this season would be a good one.
Because you look at, say, you do expand it. You look at the NBA. You look at the NHL. You look at baseball. You look at the NFL. The NFL has 6 teams in the playoffs. NBA and NHL have 8
on each side.
Yeah, and then what does baseball have? 6.
They have 5. One's a play-in game.
Yeah, that's right. So
technically 4. One's a play-in game. The wild card's a play-in game now.
I mean, like I said, I won't be mad. Why not? If they do expand it, but I don't think they should.
I mean,
because it's worked so far.
It's worked
for 3 years. I mean, why not change it up though? So I mean,
I see your
like
point.
I said, I wouldn't be mad if they did.
Yeah, but I see your point in that it wouldn't really you're still gonna have the arguments and stuff.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen either way. It's not like this system's perfect. It's not like that system would be perfect either. I mean, we've had arguments every single year. It seems like for the college football playoff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, dating back to the very first one.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it would just make it a little bit easier to put some teams in, but then you have those mid-range teams, they're fighting for that spot. Who's in, who's out.
Yep.
And then you have even bigger arguments because you could have even more teams that could vie for that last couple spots. So, yeah, I see where you're coming from that, but I would like it mostly for getting more teams in there that are maybe not so much appraised or seen or whatever, more diversity with conferences even, because we got lucky this year. We got 4 different conferences representing the college football playoff, but other years we've had multiple teams from the same conference or whatnot. So I would like it for the diversity in that, I guess. So that is the end then. Yeah. I guess we're out of stuff. And that signals time to wrap it up for this week on Across the Goal Line. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ATGL16. All the links are available on YouTube and Facebook and all those different social media sites. Also, you want to buy this merch right here, this hat, you can contact us about that. We also have shirts. You can contact us about you can use all the social media platforms or email us at acrossthegoalline2016@gmail.com. You can follow Luke at Twitter at QuenLuke96.
Yep.
And me at CRains14 on Twitter as well. And if you don't have anything else to say,
I'll say we are Penn State and we got screwed, but we're going to beat USC in the Rose Bowl.
All right, that's Luke sounding off. But for Luke Goddard then, I'm Corey Maines. We'll see you on the next edition of Across the Goal Line.
We'll see you
Live
next
from
week.
The field.
We'll see you next week, and go check out all our YouTube videos that are over on YouTube.